everyone. Welcome to another episode of Reading Rule, y'all. I'm Dr. Shay Parton, and this week we're continuing our deep dive into Monica Rowe's most recent middle grades novel, Air. Just a brief note, thanks so much again to those of you who have filled out the survey. If you still haven't had a chance, it's linked again in the description below. Many thanks for helping me make this series as helpful for you as I can. Okay. So now, on to the teaching ideas. As I mentioned in the last video, the two most powerful things I think AIR brings up are the opportunity to question what it means to help, and also the invitation to examine issues of policy and structure regarding the educational opportunities of folks with disabilities, and the way those are layered with the unique issues that face rural communities in particular feel especially important. So anyway, using a critical rural pedagogical approach, I would build a unit that combines a reading of the text with an inquiry or project-based learning project. One of the things that critical rural English pedagogy emphasizes is the need for rural students to critically examine their communities and play an active role in sustaining and making them better. Students are encouraged to find and see both the affordances and challenges facing their communities and the people in them in connection with their rurality in a very similar way to what Rowe does with Emmy's experiences in the book. So, for the reading unit, I would frame our reading and discussion of the novel with the essential question, what does it mean to help? I would ask students to keep a reader's notebook where they kept track of helpers in the text and what kind of help they offered, as well as whether or not Emmy found it actually helpful. Then, in small reading groups and whole class discussions, we'd work together to unpack what it means and looks like to be helpful to someone, and what that looks like in the novel, and then how we've seen and experienced that in our own lives. We could also think together about what it means and how it might look different in our rural community compared to other types of communities, so urban communities, suburban communities, and then other rural communities that may not look exactly like ours. We could also ask what enables us to help each other, and how do we use and take opportunities to support and encourage and help one another in our classroom, school, and community writ large. Then, for the writing unit, students would research more about the 504 sit-ins and engage in an equity audit photo voice project that would lead to some kind of community action. If you're unfamiliar with an equity audit and or photo voice, I've included some links in the description of this video that you might find helpful. But essentially, students would walk the school grounds and community, making notes about whether or not and how accessible the school and community are for folks with disabilities. You might provide them a chart to take notes on with some suggestions of things they might look for. For example, is there an accessible entrance for people who use wheels? Is it easy to find? Does the automatic door work? Are there handrails and an accessible bathroom stall in the restrooms at school, in restaurants, in other local businesses, etc.? Then, after the class has completed their individual audits, you'd meet as a whole class to discuss their findings. Based on what they've identified as things that need fixing, they would form small groups and come up with ways to fix them, or at the very least, bring attention to them. They could write a letter to the editor of the local paper. They could call a town forum or council meeting where folks could learn more about these issues. They could make a public service announcement that could be shown on the local or school news. They could partner with a construction trades class to build ramps or make adjustments where possible. The possibilities are really endless. After completing their projects, students would then circle back to their understandings of what it means to help and be helpful, and reflect on if they think their work was helpful or how helpful they felt their work was. Did they invite voices and opinions of folks directly impacted by the issues into their projects and the solutions that they came up with? What could they have done differently to engage the community in critical examination and action? What would be some next steps to move forward? No community is perfect, and because of the unique challenges that many rural communities and schools face due to larger economic forces, asking students to find creative ways to engage their communities in working toward making community spaces more accessible for everyone is a really excellent use of critical rural English pedagogy. So that's all for this episode. I hope you all consider using some of these ideas in your classrooms. I know I'm really excited to put this book on my syllabus as a book club choice in my multiculturalism classes this summer and fall. And so if you do end up teaching it, reach out and let me know how it went. Stay tuned for our next video. We're going to talk to the bookish beekeeper herself, Monica Rowe. And until then, do me a favor, like, comment, and subscribe so more rural teachers and teacher educators can find this and make use of the resources here. Thanks a bunch. Y'all come back now, would you?